Hello internet friends, welcome to this new series where I'm going to play a character in Star Wars Galaxies Legends from the very beginning right to level 90. The idea is that this is focused on new starters. We can go through from the start to the, in quotes, finish. There's no real end to an MMO like Star Wars Galaxies, but level 90 is definitely the milestone. It's the first milestone that's on everyone's minds when they start the game, so very much a series for people who've never played through to level 90 before. I'm going to enjoy doing it again. I thought it might be right and proper for me to tell you a bit about my history with Star Wars Galaxies. I played the game from the beta all the way through to very close to the shuttering of the game. So I'm very familiar with it, and over the past nearly 2 years now, I've been doing videos on YouTube about it. I have been through from the beginning to the end with a number of characters now, but I've never really documented it properly with a focus on making it kind of digestible for not just new starters, but just people enjoying a kind of series of videos on YouTube, keeping the quality levels up, keeping the videos to around 30-45 minutes, and a minimal editing, I think, but we're going to keep the pace up. What I did last time when I went through with my Jedi was that I ended up doing a lot of streaming, grouping up with other players, and while that was a lot of fun, it prioritized the kind of the fun experience for me and the community playing it together rather than the quality level of the videos. So this time I'm going to focus more on the kind of the picture quality of the videos, the tightness of the videos, and making it a formed thing for YouTube primarily. So hopefully that's something that you're interested in, that you're going to enjoy. For my character, I've chosen a Wookiee. This is one of the two races in the game that really has an unusual character model, completely different clothing. It has like a different skeleton and stuff, and that doesn't happen that often in MMOs, and that's why I'm attracted to these kinds of characters. My other one that I've got is an Ithorian. That's like the hammerhead guy in the cantina in Star Wars, and I'm always attracted to those kinds of characters. Playing something unusual. I just played a centaur in the game Crowfall, which is a new MMO that's coming out. It's in alpha at the moment, but I always gravitate towards these strange characters. So this is my Wookiee. I wanted to make him a little bit different to Chewbacca, but I didn't want to go like obviously they're like bears and dogs and stuff, so they can have white skin or white fur, do a polar bear Wookiee or something like that. But I think it's partly maybe my lack of imagination, but. And anyway, I've seen other people do that. They do it really well. There's one of the CSRs for Star Wars Galaxies Legends has a really fun Wookiee who's a little bit overweight, and he's a chef, and he has white fur. And I thought, well, people are already doing that. I'll just go for a bog standard Wookiee. So he looks maybe a little bit too much like Chewbacca here, but we're going to start. And the other thing is, because I'm so familiar with the game, but I've never had a Wookiee, put that on, that's my epitaph, never had a Wookiee. But now I will have had a Wookiee, and I can explore all the different clothing and armor options for Wookiees, and because now when I create a human, I kind of know it straight away. So in this first sort of video, very much at the beginning, I'm going to talk you through what I see as some very important UI, quality of life issues, and some of the problems with the NG version of Star Wars Galaxies, which Legends is. It's a late version of the NG, so there are many great things in this particular server and emulator. But when you first start, you're presented with the problem of the control scheme that was added to the game by the NG. So the first part of this video, I'm going to talk that through and prioritize how to remedy some of that. So, but in terms of choosing a character, I've got a max level Jedi. I've played Smuggler a fair amount, Officer a bit. I'm not going to do Trader, Medic, or Entertainer. Trader or Entertainer, they're like the social crafting classes. So I'm going to go Combat because I think that's more interesting for videos, but something I've never done before. So really the choice for me is between Bounty Hunter and Commando, and I've never used the Commando has these heavy weapons, so I really want to try out some of those heavy weapons. And I think the thing that is keeping me off Bounty Hunter is it's a little bit hard to imagine a Wookiee Bounty Hunter. You would have really had to go off the deep end and like turn to the dark side slightly to be a Bounty Hunter, because they're so impoverished and kind of put upon the Wookiees in the Star Wars universe that it's doable. And you can swap characters. The thing about the NG is people think you're locked into this one character. You don't have the ability to switch around. You don't have the flexibility of the early game CU and pre-CU. But you can switch character classes, periodically. So it's not a problem if, say, I don't like this particular class. You can change to any other class you like at any time. So let's get started. I'll probably skip through here just so I don't get struck for copyright, but we kind of know what the opening crawl is. But you know what? I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll read it out, shall I? Star Wars. It's a game set in space, all about war. Amid the stars, Star Wars Galaxies, an empire divided. Well, I'll tell you what, rather than reading this out, I'll tell you my history, like waiting for this game. I was waiting. I had a presence on the forums. I joined a guild, and I listened to the developers all talking about it on the forums. They were very interactive at the time, talking about their design principles, and things were added to the game. I'd never been involved with that kind of thing in the run-up to a game since, and that was part of the enjoyment, the imagination of what this could be, because they were really creating with Star Wars Galaxies a virtual world. So they added so many niche things that wouldn't be added to an MMO now. In terms of just the way the world worked, the range of things that you could do. I remember a deep dive into creature handling and the system of having pets in the game, almost like Pokemon in Star Wars, and the idea of trading and having a house, and just the interactions that were going to be possible, and the player associations and the society that they were hoping to build in the game. It was very, very exciting, and as I say, they were so my imagination was on fire with Star Wars Galaxies in the run-up to it, and I was really, really excited. So the starting area is called Tansari Point Station, but we're not there yet. We've been broken out of prison, I believe. We have to escape our prison cell. But the first thing you're going to notice is my UI. It won't look exactly like yours. If you're starting from scratch, you'll have a different UI setup. The only mods that I have here that make the UI look like this are the UI options for ILM. I'll talk you through those in a little while. I'll show you how to do those in the Star Wars Galaxies Legends launcher and get your UI looking a little bit more like this. There are still some options that I've got ticked that I'll talk you through too. But the main thing I wanted to mention were the changes added to the game with the NG. This is an NG server, so the control scheme is set up as the NG was at the very start, and it's one of the worst things that was added to Star Wars Galaxies with the NG is the control scheme and this way of targeting and moving through the world. Now you may be thinking, well, that's the way the game is set up, but from default I'm going to just learn. Obviously this is what the game thinks is the best way to play this game, and that's understandable. I'm going to tell you why that's wrong. The NG was wrong. It just made mistakes. So the first thing we've got to do is return the essence of Star Wars Galaxies back to what it was before the NG, which is a hotbar MMO, where you tab target through targets, you select things on screen with the mouse if you wish to, and you fire hotkeys from your hotbar. That's how hotbar MMOs work. The control scheme that was added with the NG is a failed experiment. It just doesn't work. So the first thing we need to do is change back. So the first step in doing so is come down to your key map, select Star Wars Galaxies Legends Classic, and uncheck everything apart from these two boxes. Actions can be fired from the toolbar. That's what you do in a hotbar MMO. And enable modal chat is something I do just to separate, when I want to talk, I press enter and go into chat. I press enter to leave chat. And then, I can use any of the keyboard commands, and it won't get confused that I'm trying to chat. No, I'm not at this point. I haven't pressed enter. But the main thing is the actions can be fired from toolbar. There's also a secondary option related to that. in controls. As you can see there, actions can be fired from toolbar in controls as well. Why this whole thing doesn't work is the idea is that you have your mouse and it's like a shooter. It's like an FPS shooter. So you have your main attack on your left mouse button and your secondary attack on your secondary attack, and you use the hotkeys almost like to select your secondary attack, and then you fire that with your right mouse. But think about it for a minute. All you're doing there is 2 actions when 1 is enough. You've already pressed, say, number 2 to move to that particular special move on your hotbar. Then you press your right mouse button to activate it. Why are you pressing 2 buttons instead of 1? Makes absolutely no sense. 2 hotbar MMOs rely on combat rotations, knowing the cooldowns of your moves and coming up with what they call a combat rotation. So you do your light strike, your heavy strike, your force lightning, your whatever, then you cycle that combat thing, and it's all to do with knowing the cooldowns of your various moves. Now, if you are of the mindset that you press number 2 to select that one particular move, and then in combat you have your main attack on the left mouse button, and on the right button you just have this one ability that is the one that you use because that's the one you've selected. You're not doing rotations, you're not playing the MMO optimally. No other MMO works like this. So you need to move back to this system of firing hotkeys, firing abilities from the hotbar. There's another important one here, which is to expand your toolbar to the second row and add an additional vertical toolbar. We need those toolbars in our hotbar MMO. The more the merrier. Well, not the more the merrier, but 2 rows of things on your toolbar, many more options, and that vertical toolbar is very, very handy. You can see it on the right of the screen there. So those are 2 that I would say definitely select. This is one that I just learned recently, target of target. That's very handy in groups when you're trying to select the target that your guys have. And the option under that is to select your UI skin. You get many more options with ILM. The one that I've got is the Rebel flight suits, if you want that exact one once you've ticked ILM. But we'll talk about that in a sec, as I say. And this is another one, the offset camera. When you start, you'll probably see that the camera hangs over the right-hand shoulder of your character. That's a personal preference thing. It's to do with the targeting. With the NG, you have a target reticule that you need to hover over enemies to attack. I would say get rid of that. Don't offset the camera, because once you're firing special moves from the hotbar, as is right and proper in any sane MMO, you're going to want to set up an auto attack and set up your targeting properly. Now, I'm not going to talk through that here, but I do have a video all about how to auto attack that covers all that stuff about targeting in the world and your radial menu and all that stuff. So I'll link to that video if you want to get all that set up. Now, once you've done all that, you should be approaching something that resembles a MMO that controls logically. When it comes to keybinds, there are many, many options in Star Wars Galaxies. Go to Options, Keybinds, and set those up how you like. But one really convenient function that has been added recently to Star Wars Galaxies Legends is to do that from the launcher. So I'm going to do that now. Go into Player Utilities. If you're not aware of this, veterans, it's a great convenience. So there's Naplu's keybinds, UI, everything. I just copy that to this new character, and then copy keybinds. Copy everything. Really, really good. It's not really relevant to new starters. You're going to have to set up your keybinds at least once the way you like them in the game. But it's a convenience that we all had to do this manually at one time, so it's really good. What is relevant to you new starters is this enable UI skins. That's what will get your UI looking a little bit like mine. If you prefer it to look like that, you might not. So I think these things that I've talked about, the hotkeys, the tab targeting, auto attack, all that kind of works without the UI skins, but the UI skins just look a lot nicer to my eye. So you may want to press that. I have pre-CU movement as well. This is kind of it has some inertia to it, but some people really don't like that. So that's up to you, but it's the UI skins if you want to choose those different skins. Remember, they're in the interface options within the game. You may also like to put the graphics of ILM and the sounds and whatnot. It's personal preference. Try them out. And if you want to do ILM with Re-Shade, do have a tutorial on the channel, because I'm going to be putting too many flags up in this video. But it's on the channel. I'm sure if you search Re-Shade ILM, the tutorial will pop up for you. All that being said, play the game how you feel comfortable. I've heard from people in the chat when I talk about this hotbar stuff. No, I don't play it like that. I play it like this, and that's fair enough. I don't want to tell anyone they're doing things wrong. But I can tell you from my point of view that for what I want to do in Star Wars Galaxies, play the game as well as I can, be as fluid as I can in combat, and move around the game world in an intuitive way. I can't do that with the basic settings, and that's why I am so kind of maybe over-egging the pudding a little bit with this focus, but I really do feel like the game, you don't get the full range of things that you can do in the game without making these changes, and that's why I'm kind of highlighting them here so strongly at the beginning. But as I say, if you're happy playing the way you play, fair play to you. I don't want to tell you you're doing it wrong. But these are things to consider, and this is about new starters, and this is advice I would give new starters. But that being said, let's get on with the playing the game. We've got to go to Tansari Point Station. You know, so much has been said about the NG at this point, but this is indicative of the changes, isn't it? Because the idea was to make it more Star Warsy, like the second room that you, well, the corridor outside the room that you start in, you meet, the first character you meet is C-3PO, the second characters are Han Solo and Chewbacca, and then there's the Millennium Falcon. You couldn't get much more different to the original design philosophies of Galaxies, which was almost like the opposite of that. And it's interesting to note the kind of the change in direction that can happen when new people join a anything, a business, a political party, a game development studio. When other people take over and have a completely different focus to how the game started, you could argue that originally the game was like, well, you're not the hero. You don't meet Han Solo straight away. He was in the game in the pre-CU, but you're definitely not Luke Skywalker in that universe. And man, what a huge U-turn. What's that? U-turn the game did at that stage, and this whole introductory sequence was added with that. It has its good points and its bad points. I'd certainly feel like there is a need for a tutorial like this, because without the new player experience, they can't sometimes sit down strangely in the Millennium Falcon. The character is a little bit lost, and to this day is still lost. So you need something like this to just give you very, very basic stuff. Oh, you go up levels, you talk to characters who give you quests. But as I was speaking I do this occasional podcast with people who are into Star Wars Galaxies, and I was speaking to Bree from Massively OP, and she's someone that before the proliferation of YouTube and Star Wars Galaxies emulation in particular, when you can kind of watch high quality videos and hear from people about their opinions, she was one of the few people that I used to listen to who continually talked about the coolness of Galaxies, and I kind of felt like I wasn't alone. So I wanted to talk to her in a podcast, and she was very, very hard on this new game experience, the starter portion of Galaxies. That's a great shot, isn't it? Just showing off the game there. The butt of a Wookiee at the very beginning in this dramatic bit. Like MMOs always do that. No matter how hard they try to make it cinematic, then you get a butt shot of a Wookiee. Yeah, she was very, very harsh on it, and I understand where she was coming from. I probably err more in the absence of anything better. I think this is better than nothing, but she's right in that it strikes a few false sort of notes and promises that stuff happens like on the station that doesn't happen anywhere else in the game. So if you're starting out here, I believe you can stay here to about level 10 or 11, and then you have to leave, and there's plenty of quests to be doing here to get to that level. But what I'm going to do here is get to the level where I can definitely leave, which is level 5, and then get out into the real world, because of that, just that sense of this starting area is kind of not part of the core game, and by the I want to get it behind me, really. You get the sense that nothing that happens here is of any consequence. It's just consequence in terms of levels, but I think it's good for getting a feel early on and maybe getting up some levels if that is your focus. I think perhaps you can get to level 10 or 11 a little bit faster here, because certainly the main game, the overworld, call it that, is a little bit more spread out. The quests are the quest givers are more spread out. You have to do more travel in between handing in those quests. So these are all kind of bunched together. So for that reason, if you're interested in getting to level 10 quickly, maybe it's better to stay on Tansari Point Station, but I just wanted to get off. So we go to level 5. You get your blaster and stuff, and that's potentially a screenshot for the episode, isn't it? Just stop there. There you go. It's not too bad. 2 Wookiees and a Han. Yeah, so
press the M key to open the overlay.
As I say, I've done it a number of times before, so what I'm doing here might not be, I'm not going to read quest dialogue necessarily. I'm going to go through. The guy who actually gives the Commando quest looks like he's an Imperial, so that was unexpected. As I say, Commando is new to me, so learning some new stuff. And one thing that I haven't got into yet with the Commando are these kill counter. In the top right there's kind of a kill counter. I think you do more damage the more enemies you kill, the quicker you kill them. So that'll be interesting to explore and whatnot. But this is an example of something that just very rarely happens in the main game. Beyond the tutorial is following these markers directly to your quarry or the quest that you need to do. Just doesn't really happen after this, and I'm kind of glad it doesn't. I like waypoints, but this really breaks. If you're looking for any kind of immersive aspect to being in the Star Wars universe, glowing snake trails going through the world like this, no, there's no chance. But you do get some grenades at this early stage. I think this is the only time that a grenade feels effective during this tutorial bit. I don't think you get grenade with any of the other characters. It's because I'm a Commando. You just chuck it and we can kill loads of them really quick. Stun grenade seems to be the next thing, but you get that at level 4. It's kind of weird that the way it reads, sometimes you think, have I got this stun grenade? No, I need to do some work on that. Character sheet and profession roster and stuff can be a little bit confusing, but the profession just gives you an overview of the progression when you're going to be getting new skills and when you're going to be going up levels. Some levels are not relevant, you just get those passive stats like your precision, your strength and stuff goes up a level, and then every few levels you get a new skill or an upgrade of a skill. So it doesn't happen every level. I don't know how common that is in MMOs. I mean, it's pretty common, isn't it? You don't get something special every single level. It's a little bit of a carrot, something to work towards. Those new skills are the milestones, I guess. But I think your first few quests with Han Solo, and then he sends you off to Inaldra's lieutenant, who offers a range of quests, and you just kind of pick which ones you like the look of. Like I don't think I've done this one before, where you have to kill this particular person. But I'm still getting a sense of what I'm going to do in this series, which is I'm just playing it by ear, not spending a lot of time in quest dialogue and stuff, just go through, because it'll be different for everyone, really. So, and as I say, this whole thing feels divorced from the rest of the game. So it's just a case of let's get to level 5 quickly and get off this station. I do like the atrium area here, though. So bring up the map with the M key, and that's a good one for navigating if you can't see exactly where these trails are going. That kind of transparent map is kind of good because you can see the waypoint on the transparent map. There you go, another quest done. They put a lot of effort into making it look nice and stuff. The way it's decorated, and it's kind of a beautiful area, but this is one of the downsides of bringing in the focus on just action and fighting. There's no reason to hang around anywhere, and certainly in this starting area, I mean, everyone's just learning their classes and stuff, so you kind of just run through, and it's pretty background. But you got the sense in the earlier game, you know, when you find an area, oh, this looks nice, let's have a meeting, a gathering here. You can't imagine a bunch of newbies really having any kind of socialization on this station. They'll all be trying to do the same thing, which is just get levels quickly and just racing through it. Yeah, it's a package of stuff. So this is the thing that I was looking forward to with the Wookiee, which is just wearing some Wookiee clothes and seeing what that's like. These have an agility boost. Agility is good for dodge chance and stuff. It's a cool stat. It's a stat I use a lot, even at the end game with my Jedi. So I really like agility, and a lot of the time people will suggest other stats that is important to boost, but agility seems very important to me. I've done like experimentation fighting some high level bosses and stuff like the Acklay and other ones with different skill setups, and stacking agility really works well for me. But it's something that people don't often like say is a priority. But I don't know. I fought the Acklay with one build with glancing blow. This is another one for staying on your toes in combat and avoiding attacks, stacking glancing blow and block chance and all these what they call exotic stats in the game, and I wasn't as effective as I was when I just stacked agility. So I don't know what's going on there. Either I'm weird or that's something to look at, but it works for me. Don't ignore glancing blow, but I think there's a cap at which point it maybe is not worth getting any more of it, and it's just better to stack agility. So we put the Wookiee agility clothing on. This is the bit where Han Solo gets, oh, Boba Fett? Oh no, Boba Fett? It's not really Han Solo. It kind of sounds a bit weird.
Your journal will tell you where to find him. Hurry.
I think the story of the station is, I mean, it's relatively interesting, but it's just all connected to the fact that it's like, well, none of this is, we never go back here or anything, so what does it matter? Gamma station, what does it matter what's going on over there when we never come back here? I was watching someone else go through it the other day, and realizing how much stuff, just how quick you can do it once you know. The person I was watching in the stream was looking for ages for these little things to do the quest, and they're just both there. You know, but as people on the internet often trumpet their knowledge of games and things, and I'm still of the mindset that I'm not sure it's always good to boast about, say how well you know a game, because there goes the grenade. That's really good. That's what I'm hoping to do with the Commando, just complete some quests like with one grenade throw or one hit from a rocket launcher. You know, people are not always mindful of kind of, oh yeah, I know this game so well. Yeah, because maybe you've not got anything better to do in your life. But it's not fair that, you know, it's not fair. And I get fed up with when people like use that as a way to disparage people and say, you know,
Give me some time to
minimize
get
their
these repairs
achievements and
made.
stuff like, yeah, because you're only doing this, you're only playing this game so much because you've not got a
How's it
life.
going?
I don't believe that to be the case, but I'm always kind of a little bit reticent to say, I know this game really well, and everyone else who plays this game is shit. And why aren't you doing it like this? Why aren't you doing it like that? Like, I think people need to be a little bit more aware of how they're coming across when they start mouthing off about this or that. But there you go. Can't know everything. That's the thing snaking up there. So this is an Aldous lieutenant, and she has a ton of stuff to take part in. And it's just up to you, I guess. And you can do the space on here, which is something in my Get Started video that I do suggest that people do. And I think it is. This is why I'm in two minds about this. This starting area be complete crap. So if you don't know when you first start the game that you can just go to the Mos Eisley cantina and ask the pilot who is in the back room, how would you know that? You wouldn't. To give you a ship, and you don't have to do any of this to get to get started in space. This kind of, you know, there's a quest giver there who directs you to the hangar where you talk to the space guy. There are certain aspects that if you're completely alone in this game and coming at it for the first time, I would not quite say, you know, just do away with this entirely. Not unless you've got a replacement for it, and dropping you at the spaceport in Mos Eisley is not adequate. You can only do that if, say, you've got a support structure of a guild, or you have people who can help you, and people don't. So you do need something directed like this, I think. But I think Bree is right that there's weirdness to it as well, that superfluousness to it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we got the stun grenade. I don't know any of the rotations for the Commando. It's all just going to be experimentation. I have my key set up kind of weird, like down in the bottom there, where I'm putting those skills that I've got, the stun grenade and the two main attacks. I have them. I use WASD to move around, and then I have Q and E for the attacks that I use the most, and I have the F and the R key, and sometimes the X key, so that all the attacks that I use the most are really near the WASD keys on the keyboard. It's just personal preference. So even though it says down at the bottom there they're on number, what is it, 9, 10, 11, 12, they're not. They're on Q, E and stuff. It's just so that it feels intuitive and feels fast to use. And yeah, that's how I do it. So that's the guy there that I have to kill. But none of the others are aggressive, so it's just a case of gunning him down in cold blood and then leaving all his mates like, what just happened there? All right, so that's good. It's not exactly kind of a realistic simulation of life, but what MMO is. I was thinking the other day how many MMOs I've played, and sometimes I feel like I missed a lot of. I'm not as avidly. It's not the only MMO. I played others quite avidly. I played Tor for over a year with my guild, so I was very into that. I played EQ2 quite a lot. Didn't play the original EverQuest that much, but yeah, I've played most of them, even if I didn't stay in them. So I'm kind of very aware of when something is different and new, and the idea that the world feels somehow interactive to what you do around it is kind of a flaw in many MMOs. The NPCs just stand around waiting for you to come and talk to them, and like these guys in here, they just stand here. They're not moving around. I suppose it's convenience. There could be a downside to it. You know, you want to get your questing done. You've only got an hour to play. You don't want to be wandering around this immersive marketplace where people are hard to find. You want to know exactly where the NPCs are. One game that I played recently, Mountain Blade, that does that, where it has the people that you need. That's a single play, it's not MMO, but just an example of people wandering around. Skyrim, perhaps, some of the NPCs move around in that, and that can be frustrating, but it does lead to a sense of it being kind of a theme park in the in this very real sense of just this area that is there. These are not alive, these characters. They don't have an internal world. They don't go to bed. They don't get up. They don't wander around and talk to each other. They just sit there waiting for you. There's a kind of a artificiality to it. And that's something that I think the earlier game, the pre-CU and the CU, did kind of by accident in a way, because it was so geared towards what the players were doing. The players made the content in the game, in a sense, much more than there being static, a lot of static content. There were NPCs wandering around, but you really got the sense that the player cities and the player events and activities were the real life and soul of the game, rather than this static content that's kind of waiting for you to partake in. You get more of a sense of that world, kind of. He's just sending me back to an Eldris Lieutenant, who I already know all about. So I just chose to do some ranged combat from Inaldra, I believe, and which is not necessarily Commando, I don't think, but I'm just kind of doing it for the level. So if you're going through here thinking, what should I get, what should I do, just follow. I mean, it's not a complicated part of the game. It's just follow the directions, the trail glimmering through. Use the overhead map if it's not always clear where this line is taking you. And just pick up whatever quests, and whatever you do will give you the levels you need eventually to leave the place. We use the last grenade to kill these guys. I think I mistimed it there. So yeah, we only got a couple of them. Yeah, but it's going to be fun going through. You don't get armor until later, and even with the whatever armor you get, you can always use the appearance system to have whatever kind of appearance with your Wookiee. The big question with the Wookiee for me is, am I going to have a Wookiee that's very covered up and clothed? Because it's always been weird to me that Chewbacca is the only Wookiee. Most Wookiees wear more clothes than Chewbacca. He just wanders around with effectively naked for a Wookiee, which is kind of weird. And then when you see the others in Revenge of the Sith or whatever, they're always wearing more clothes. So I think it would be a shame to not use those clothing options. The Wookiee armor is kind of crazy in the game, though. It looks so odd.
Use credits
It
to buy
seems to me
and
like
sell
the
You may carry
sharpshooter
credits
ring
as
would
hard
be
currency,
useful.
or
It's probably
store them
got
in a
precision
bank.
on it.
Most rewards are granted
Is
directly into the bank.
And really, there's no reason to worry at this early stage of the game about having the best items and stuff. You can pretty much get by with whatever the quest givers give you, like spending all your money on high level armor, because it's only in the later game that your armor really makes a difference. It's definitely convenient. I think it's level 26, something like that, 21, 26, that you get access to armor, and it does smooth things out for you, but there's no need at that point to get really high level armor, because you can get to level 90 without having to do that. It's all these quests that you do. You get a good dollop of XP for most quests, and you can also do mission terminals that are not difficult if you pick the right ones. We'll talk about that, as I'll do some mission terminals, and we'll obviously be running through all the quests, and I shouldn't think it will be difficult. You'll be able to see how you can do it all solo, basically, which is my intention with this series. I've thought a little bit about doing some group content with people, but that's always a pain to arrange, and I also have to do that kind of. It's easiest to do it when I'm streaming, and I don't. That's the thing I did last time. So I think going through it solo, and I think the majority of people do solo when they're leveling. And it's usually your second or third character that you do either macroing or you do in groups and stuff. Generally speaking, you kind of, when you first go through, it's natural to kind of do stuff solo. And I do like that option in games. I really don't like being gated by having to do stuff in a group. But speaking of group, this is a group mission that I've picked up here. You get a little flag in brackets, it'll say group, and a little warning to tell you it's a group. But this is an example of just, don't let that put you off entirely. Just because the game says it's a group mission, you can sometimes do it. Not really sure because I've never done this one before, but if you can see on the map there, I've got the overhead map up and you can see the waypoint is at the back of a room full of red mobs on the map there. But with it being a group, they'll probably kill me in seconds. So my one chance is to kind of run in, click the item and hope you can use the item while you are aggroed in combat, because I'm aggroed all the way down here. So we're going to run straight into this room and hit the console and see if we get quest credits. Sometimes you can't, but then you can. So we can do this group quest no problem. Sometimes you have to stand there. It will say you can't interact with this while you're in combat, or you have to stand statically for a couple of seconds as a timer ticks down, and you can't do that in combat. So that will vary. But I mean, if you want to err on the side of caution, just don't do group combat. But I wasn't really paying attention to what I was picking up. I was just picking up whatever quests were closest or being offered to me. So we can get off Tansari Point Station pretty quick. I think with this one, is it? Level 5 next, and then talk to Han Solo. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun grouping with people. I tend to group with people while I'm streaming. So if you ever want to group together, play and whatnot, I kind of keep this character to this kind of series and not do too much either when I'm not recording, or keep this to a solo thing. As I say, my intention is to just keep the quality level up and keep it tight. But like people often say, you want to meet up in the game or do you want to group together? I'm always up for grouping. I tend to be, when I log in, I'm generally doing something with my crafter and whatnot. I don't do a lot with my combat characters when I'm not streaming these days. So I'm always up to group when I'm streaming, and it's usually with like Naplu or my combat medic guy. Until we get this character up in levels, I guess. Haven't figured out his deal yet. What's his roleplay? Where's he coming from? If you have any ideas in the comments, let me know. For an interesting Wookiee character who might end up as a Commando, but as we know from talking to Chewbacca, who's a tech-savvy Wookiee, they're not a primitive race. You know, the Wookiee could well be in charge of heavy weapons, and mine definitely is. It's a kind of heavy weapons guy, but I'm not sure. The one thing I'm missing by being a Commando, I want to try the funness of the Commando and whatnot, but I really want to try out the bounty hunting system. I did bounty hunting in the pre-CU.
The ship's ready to go.
Or was
Just
it the
remember,
CU? I can't
you won't be
quite
able to come back
remember.
once we leave. Are you sure you
But
want to go?
the
All right,
I'm not, like I say, I've done a little bit of PvP, but I really don't like the. It depends if the NPC bounty hunting is worth it. I don't really know if it is, but it might be worth trying out with Napabaka at some point. Once I've had a look at some heavy weapons and stuff, and maybe see how that goes. But I would like to see what the bounty hunting is like. I don't like the idea of PvP bounty hunting, like sniping people and stuff. I just it always feels really cheap to me, because it's all about getting the drop on people unawares, and I don't find that much fun really. But there you go. I think and I'm speaking from experience. I have tried it. You know, what's this like? Is this fun? You know, killing someone, and it's not much fun for me. So I don't do that very much. Oh, look at him. He's off. He's got a cool jetpack. So here we are, Mos Eisley Starport, the main thoroughfare. So I'll leave it there for now. Comments, thoughts, anything like that, let me know, and I'll see you in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed the vid. It's good fun. All right, bye for now.